Sometimes people share things with us not because they want us to give them a solution. They just want someone to hear them out. So just be all ears, just listen to them. And then you can maybe ask, okay, maybe you should talk to someone who can help you out with. See, when we talk about self-care, people often think it's mostly to do with how we are taking care of ourselves outwardly, physically. But we don't really understand it has a lot to do with your mind as well. It's not about just applying something externally because you are getting dark circles. You have to find out why you are getting dark circles. Maybe you are not sleeping at night. So what is it that's keeping you awake? Maybe you're just scrolling through your screens,
I feel like I've not been happy for the past couple of days. Is something wrong with me? I've been having these bouts of anxiety whenever I'm about to do something new. As psychologists, we often hear our clients talk about their declining mental health and so seldom know what to do about it. Hi, I'm Urvashi Bisht, head psychologist at Heyy and a practicing psychotherapist with over 5 years of experience. Today, we have with us Ms Susmita Chakraborty to talk about the right ways to keep mental health in check. Ms Susmita Chakraborty is a counseling and industrial psychologist and a psychotherapist. She's also trauma-informed and LGBTQI positive therapist, trained in various psychological assessments and therapeutic interventions. She's closely working with a UK-based coaching company called Mindful Dating. She's also an adjunct faculty at Acharya Institute, Bangalore. Thank you so much, Susmita, for taking our time for this call. We are so happy to have you today with us for this talk. So how about we just start directly with the questions that our team has formulated, some of our users have reported, which is what are the components of good mental health and self-care? With very basics, we're going to start with.
See, when we talk about good mental health, there are various factors or elements, It's not possible to talk about all of them, but I'll share some of them, but this is not all, there are more to it.
Right.
First is our immediate environment, which includes our friends, family, the people we have grown up with, the society that we are in. It's seen that people who have strong support system tend to have better mental health. Okay. Similarly, people who have grown up in a society which, maybe they're not financially well-to-do and all, they seems to be more stressed out. So yes, two important factors is the society you grew up in and your friends and family as well. Second would be our physical health. Physical health, has a direct link to our mental health. It's seen that people who fall sick often or have a chronic, illness, or if they are taking care of someone who has been keeping unwell physically or mentally, it takes a toll on their health as well.
Right.
Third would be the contents that we consume. Any form of contents that we are consuming. It can be movies or the web series that we watch, the kind of music we listen to, the influencers or the content creators that we follow. It has a very strong impact on our mental health. That's why I suggest people do not just, mindlessly browse in and because you are thinking that, okay, I'm just probably just spending some time, but you do not know how it's impacting you. Yeah. Then it's also seen that people who have higher EQ, higher emotional quotient, they tend to have a better mental health than others. They can regulate their emotions better. They also have higher frustration tolerance. They generally do not, they're quite flexible. I mean, it's not that difficult situations don't bother them. They do, but they're quite flexible. They do not try to have everything in their control. Okay, so it's easier for them to adapt to a new situation. Then people who can set boundaries, people who can say no, who can, create a space, it's seen that they have better mental health as well. So yeah, these are some of the points that I can think of. But as I have mentioned, it's not just limited to this. There are more to it.
Right. So to summarize, you mentioned about social support, you mentioned about some characteristics and traits like assertiveness, EQ of an individual, and what sort of content we are consuming. So these are varied aspects, right? Do these also overlap with self-care? Like what sort of content I'm consuming, what I'm choosing?
Yes, it absolutely does. See, when we talk about self-care, people often think it's mostly to do with how we are taking care of ourselves outwardly, physically. But we don't really understand it has a lot to do with your mind as well. It's not about just applying something externally because you are getting dark circles. You have to find out why you are getting dark circles. Maybe you're not sleeping at night. So what is it that's keeping you awake? Maybe you're just scrolling through your screens. So yes, it's the self-care plays a very important role here. Definitely it does.
Right. So once we have identified, you're saying we just don't have to focus on resolving it, but also identifying where it's stemming from, the cause behind it. That would cover the whole idea of, taking care of mental health and self-care.
In fact, identifying is one of the primary steps. Once you need to acknowledge that there is an issue, then you have to identify what is the issue. And then you can go ahead with, and it's not possible or not necessary that you have to do it by yourselves. And that's why we therapists are here.
Right.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't hesitate in reaching out for an external help or a professional to help us figure out where it's stemming from. And how can we identify that I require help now that you have brought that up? Right? How do I identify that I need help?
One is if you are going through some kind of life transitions. It can be shifting to a new city, or maybe motherhood or fatherhood, or you have joined a new organization, you have moved to a new country, some kind of life transitions, which you do not know how to deal with it. A lot of new things happening at the same time. Okay. Right. That's one. Then sudden change in your mood. Okay. It can be frustration. You are crying without any particular reason. You're getting angry. If this is not your core, this is not how you behave in general or usually, then this is something that you need to probably talk to your therapist about. Then your performance at work, or if you're a student, then if your performance at your school or college will also be affecting you if you're not keeping well mentally. Then you won't be interested in doing things that once interested you. It can be anything. It can be interest in sexual activities or maybe something fun. It can be hobbies that we're interested in once and you no longer do it anymore. If you have experienced some kind of trauma, then also you should see a therapist. But we often think that with time, we forget an event. But again, it depends on what kind of situation or event it is and how it has impacted you. For some people, it just doesn't go away. Either it will manifest in some kind of, physical issues, or you will vent it out unknowingly, unconsciously in some other form. So your childhood trauma or some kind of trauma, it's better that you talk to a therapist and, get it resolved. It's time consuming, of course, but you need to sort it out. You need to talk to a therapist about it. Then if you're grieving, it can be grieving because of a breakup, or maybe a divorce, or you have lost someone to death. You might want to take help. You might go to a grieving therapist or therapist in general. If you want to improve in any front of your life, self-improvement, it can be you have been procrastinating a lot, or you're not able to focus or concentrate. Well, the underlying causes can be something else, but this is also something that you should see a therapist for. So last but not the least would be your unhealthy coping mechanisms and addictions. So we all have some form of coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms is something that we have it inbuilt in us, but not necessarily that the coping mechanisms are healthy. For example, some people say that I smoke because to deal with the frustrations or stress, but this is not a healthy coping mechanism. Right. So if you have some kind of unhealthy coping mechanism, or you have some form of addiction, then also you should see a therapist. Yeah. So there's just some of the, signs that you need to see a therapist.
Right. So to summarize, the signs and indications that I picked up is that dysfunctionality in adjustment and regulation of your emotions. So you talked about your physical health can get affected, your moods can get affected, and your functionality. So in regard with work, and also if there are major transitions that an individual is going through, so adjustment level even in that. And then incidents like trauma or grief. So these are also areas that if you are experiencing signs and indications that you're struggling in these areas, that would be the right time to reach out for help. Right? Okay. And now these days we hear a lot about toxic positivity. What exactly does it mean, and how can we control that?
Toxic positivity is a very jazz word, but it's very important to discuss about it because it's everywhere. It's there in our t-shirts. It's there in the Instagram captions. It's everywhere, right?
Right.
Toxic positivity, if I have to explain it in a very layman's term,
Hmm.
I'll start with an example. It's something like you have acne or you have pimples, but instead of understanding why you have it, you are just putting makeup. Okay, so this is just temporary solution to it. You are just putting cover to it, all right? But you are not actually treating it. So toxic positivity is exactly this. We do it to ourselves as well. Whenever we are going through a bad or difficult situation, or we are going through some kind of negative emotion, we will just tell ourselves that no, it's all right. I am strong. I have to be strong. So you are not finding out, or you don't want to identify the cause, or you are not working on that. You are just in a denial mode. And we do the same to others as well. Whenever, say, somebody is trying to share something, we just say, hey, you are strong, you can do it, rather than saying, do your best. And maybe, you can see later how things turn out to be, but you don't really have control over everything. That would be actually the right way to say it, rather than saying, I know that you can do it and you have always been doing it. This is what toxic positivity is. Yeah, the best way to control is if you are the one who says it, because knowingly, unknowingly, we do that as well. Don't say anything if you just do not know what to say. Sometimes people share things with us not because they want us to give them a solution. They just want someone to hear them out. So just be all ears, just listen to them. And then you can maybe ask, okay, maybe you should talk to someone who can help you out with. And if you're the one who's at the receiving end, like other people are saying you things like be positive and be strong, you can ignore them completely. I'm not saying that they have the wrong intention. Maybe they are your friends and family, but you have to, and this is the reason why we say that your family or friends are not therapists,
That's the difference.
because this is not what we therapists we do. We do not just tell people like it's all good, there is nothing wrong that's happening. No, this is, you need to validate the person. Validation is very important, right? The main reason why someone is sharing is because they want a validation. And that's the same thing we do as well as therapists. It doesn't mean that we accept everything that they're saying, but we are validating the person. We are trying to understand that what they're going through.
Yeah. Right. So I think now that we have understood the concept, we have understood how do we identify when to reach out for help. I think I'd like to conclude the conversation on the note of knowing what tips that can help us keep our mental health in check, something that we can follow from our end for our listeners and viewers. What are those tips?
Right. First is keep a check on what you're eating. There are certain foods which are good for our mental health, like foods which are filled with omega-3 fatty acids. It can be flax seeds or chia seeds or fish like salmon, and all, which are quite good. Drink water. Keeping yourself hydrated is very essential. It's seen that people who suffer from anxiety and depression, those who take water regularly, they have it in control to some extent. So hydration actually helps. Second would be surround yourself with people who can actually support you and help you grow, rather than being with people who will pull you down. Avoid this constant comparison. Like sometimes we do it, it's not the other people who are comparing us with others. We do it, constantly comparing ourselves with others. So we don't realize how much harm it's causing us when we do that. Third would be some kind of meditation. And when I say meditation, that doesn't mean that you have to sit in a certain pose and close your eyes and do it. It basically means staying in the present moment. Most of us who tend to overthink, it happens because we are not really being present. Either we are thinking about a distant future, dwelling in the past, something that you can't think about. So being mindful is very important. And you don't really have to do anything out of the norms to be mindful. Simple things like when you are eating, just be present. Try to feel the taste of the food, the granules of the rice, the texture, take in the smell and everything. Most of the time when we are eating, we are either, watching something or talking to some another person that we are not really into that. So you can be mindful while doing the things that you do on a day-to-day basis itself. exercise, any form of activities is very important. We mostly pay attention to exercise in terms of physical health. I have heard people saying that, why do you work out? You don't really need to shed calories. But people fail to understand that activities, any form of physical activities, it's not just meant for people who need to lose weight. It helps you immensely in your mental health as well. When you are in some form of workout, your body is basically, your brain gets the message that, there is nothing threatening, just calm down. So your body starts releasing oxytocin, which in layman's term, one of the happy hormones, right? Just be in some form of physical activities. That is very helpful. Contents that you're consuming every day, just keep a note on that. What is it that you are watching or reading? Maybe you would not want to start your day with news. Of course, we have grown up hearing that, you should start your day with news, but maybe, if you're taking information about what's happening around the world, that's different. But if some kind of crime related or some kind of news which will basically make you feel hopeless, make you feel bad about your existence, is definitely not helping you grow. So avoid, listening to such kind of news, especially if it's impacting you a lot. We tend to hear that people who have been watching a certain type of contents, they are it's impacting their mental health a lot. So maybe you should avoid that. It's important that we have hobbies which helps us grow. And when I say hobby, it's not just like random hobbies like just shopping or Netflixing. Okay. Of course, hobbies are meant to be something which you enjoy. That is important. But also you have to understand that it's not something you're doing that with a purpose as well. Hobbies are not just, to kill your time. Hobbies have purpose as well. So hobbies which will help you grow, and, have something which will let you connect with the nature. It can be any form of something like gardening and all. It's seen that people who are close to nature, it can be pottery. Pottery is one of the best hobbies that one can have. You don't really have to be great at it, but the feel of the soil, or touching the soil or feeling the nature, it in itself has an immense impact on our mental health in a positive way. It makes you feel grounded. It connects you with the nature. So yes, these are certain things, something very simple that we can have on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Right. I think that's very important, because we need not do something which is very complex or very technical to kind of have a check. But I think things that you suggested can be done on everyday basis. So mindfully engaging in the things that make us happy and doing things, whatever is going to result to something that makes me feel at peace or makes me feel better, is something that we should encourage to ourselves and even people around us to take care of their mental health. I think sounds like a great note to conclude today's conversation on, Susmita. Looking forward to connecting with you soon for maybe another interesting topic with your experience, and we'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you so much once again, Urvashi, for having me here. Yes, I would look forward to many more such podcasts.
Yes. Thank you.